Thank you so much for that. We'll check up weather, I guess, a little bit later on. But right now, I've got Ellen Voy on the phone. She is president and CEO, or CEO and president, whichever you prefer, of Women in Trucking. Ellen, so glad you could make it onto the show. I always look forward to this segment.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for letting us talk about our new white paper. And so Women in Trucking's board has said that we want to be a resource for the industry, for government, for carriers. We want to be the leading source of information. And a number of years ago, I approached the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration about studying, the safety for female drivers. And so they implemented a 3-year study on crimes against female and minority drivers. And they're just wrapping it up, and we have not gotten the results yet. But we wanted to jump ahead of them and see, anticipate what those results might be and how can we solve those. So late last year, we conducted a survey, and we received 436 drivers who responded to the survey. And it was really about harassment and their experiences on the road. And the results were pretty startling. Unfortunately, 6% reported that they had been raped in the industry, and 18% said they had been threatened with a weapon. So it's pretty revealing that we have a long ways to go to make this a safe industry.
The stat that really sticks out to me in this, Ellen, is that the frequency of verbal offensive comments, because I think a lot of times when you talk about harassment or unwanted sexual advances, people automatically jump to the worst conclusion. But it really starts with just those unwanted comments, those offensive comments. The frequency of those is over 60%. It's 69% of drivers saying that it's happened once or happened more than once in your respondents. And that's just an absolutely startling number, because it's over 2/3 of female drivers responding to this are saying that they have had at least one offensive comment thrown at them. And that's really kind of where it starts, right? And it's a lot of these women in these roles, if they're getting those offensive comments, sometimes they can feel like it's not serious enough to report it. But that's the first thing where you should take that first step, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we have an anti-harassment employment guide, and in it we talk about setting boundaries. So if somebody tells a joke or uses a term that you find offensive, you need to speak up and say, please do not say that in front of me. I find that offensive. And then if they continue, then it's harassment. I mean, because once you've established those boundaries and said, this is not acceptable to me, then they need to be reported or reprimanded or whatever, because that's just unacceptable. And, over 56% said that it happened more than once. And so that's over half of our driver population.
So, Ellen, this goes kind of along with when I first saw that we were going to be talking about this. It kind of goes along with the thought process in mind, or line of questioning and concern that is here. Isn't it really difficult in this profession to be able to report that and have some sort of control over this? Because it's happening in the workplace, but the workplace could be everywhere, specifically if they're drivers, right? Now, Women in Trucking covers from CEO all the way down to dock workers, or if you want to go that way, or up to dock workers, if you're like-minded like I am. But, it's all over the place. But specifically for a truck driver, if you're at a rest stop or a public rest stop or a private, commercial one, whatever, you don't necessarily know who that other person is or who they work for when you get this. And so sometimes you just got to shrug it off. But that doesn't seem acceptable to me.
Correct. And when in the same survey, we asked them where they felt least safe. And you're right, it's truck stops and rest areas. And so it might not be someone who works with you, and so it would be kind of hard to report that person to your own employer. But we need to have some kind of, I've approached the Truck Stop Association about having a hear something, say something, just like Truckers Against Trafficking has see something, say something. I would like to implement a whole program where if you hear something, you say to them, look, that's not acceptable, even if it's not directed at you, but you set those boundaries so that the person who's making those comments knows that there's more than one person out there who doesn't think that those comments are acceptable. We really do have to draw the line and say this industry really needs to change. And it starts with the verbal comments and then goes to, the unwanted physical advances. 39% said it happened to them more than once. I mean, that's just unacceptable.
That is completely unacceptable. Okay, so my follow-up is on the same level there. So, okay, so when you're out of there at a public rest stop or commercial rest stop, whatever it happens to be, the feeling that I have right away, trying to put myself in this situation, is that, okay, now all of a sudden I'm out in the wild, okay? And so my only defense is if there's law enforcement around somewhere, and if I'm a female and I'm looking at this big husky dude, right, that is harassing me, and I respond with something that he's not going to like, hey, don't talk to me that way, things could get out of hand, and I could escalate it just by trying to defend myself and doing the right thing. Is there a responsibility, or do you think that there should be a responsibility of those providers of these rest areas, whether it be public or private, to get involved and help with the solution?
Well, I think they should, and I think there should be an awareness campaign. I mean, like posters and bumper stickers and things like that, things in the restroom that say, if you hear this comment, that's just unacceptable. But we can't control, the outside environment. So what we can control, and what we do is at all of our events, we bring in a self-defense expert, Debbie Gardner from the Survive Institute, and she talks to not just drivers but CEOs about how do you carry yourself? So, for example, she actually will bring in toilet paper tubes and show you how to break somebody's trachea with your cell phone. And she'll have a yeah. I mean, and she'll have a hula hoop, and she'll show you the hula hoop is your personal space. And if somebody comes closer than that hula hoop, you turn around, you scream in their face, and you go, "Get away from me!" Like really loud, like throw them off. And she's got some. She used to be a cop, and she's got some amazing guidance for how to how to carry yourself and how to be present in a truck stop environment or maybe a warehouse environment and that sort of thing, so that it doesn't happen. And she's it's an amazing program that she does, and every time I watch her, I learn something new. So we have to know how to act when we go to a place so that we're carrying ourselves with confidence. We have a cell phone in our hands. We are watching everywhere. We don't walk between trucks. We don't walk in unlit areas, things like that. We need to teach both men and women, this is how you avoid getting in that situation. But then again, if you do get in the situation, here's a cell phone that you can protect yourself with, or even a water bottle. She shows how to protect yourself with a water bottle.
So Ellen, before we let you go really quickly here, it's not every single man is part of the problem of harassment and gender bias, but every single man can be part of the solution, right? And a lot of that onus comes on being just that see something, say something, being there and providing that safety. If you're a male driver and you see maybe a younger driver who's at the truck stop, walk up to them and be like, hey, I'm here if you need me. That's on the onus of men who are in the industry and have that privilege of being on the power side, I guess, of the power struggle, to kind of step up and take responsibility and be the good side of things, right? What type of kind of encouragement can you give to the men to step up and say, you know what, like you have a responsibility to take care of the women in the industry too?
So I'm so glad you said that, Kaylee, because I have to tell you, of all the male drivers out there, 90% of them, 95% of them, maybe even more, are just wonderful, and they're very protective. But it's the few that make it bad for everyone. And it's not just male against female, we have to claim that too. But when I speak to trucking companies, and I say to them, there's one thing that you can take back, it's talk to all of your drivers and say, treat your fellow drivers with respect. Treat those women out there as if they were your sister, your mom, your aunt, your grandma. But you need to treat them with respect because they are somebody's sister and somebody's mom or somebody's grandma. So you just got to put that in their minds that, you are responsible for making sure that we have a safe and harassment-free environment. Every one of us is responsible.
Amen. I love that. I've always said, we don't need we don't need women talking to women about women's harassment. We got to get the harassers involved in the conversation to make it move forward.
Exactly.
So,
all right, Ellen, thank you for joining us today. We're so glad that we got you on as always.